Hello and welcome back to Down the Track, the performance that we Indian fans were waiting for. Mustafa and me will be discussing the T20 matches before T20 matches today. Let's start off by talking about the game which India we were expecting to do last week, but it came a week later. But at least it came and it was a solid performance. And for any of the guys who are talking about it being fixed and all that nonsense, I'd really push for you guys to actually go on, take a bat, go and play a cricket match for Indian cricket, and then talk about it. Until then, I will not take any of this nonsense from any of you guys. As I throw that out there, Musti, you were at the game. I love the fan videos. I loved everything. I love the way you backed Virat Kohli. That's the way to do it. Your thoughts on the game, brother?
This was a proper pasting from India. What they were receiving in the last couple of games, they dished it out this time. So I think much needed performance. And yeah, exactly. They played to their strengths, right? The opening batsman putting on a stand. They lost the toss. They're batting first. But Rohit and Rahul doing the job, putting up a massive partnership. They batted beautifully. Both were playing really well. I felt Rohit was in full flow. I think he could have easily got 100 if he just continued batting outstanding. And then Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant finishing it off in style, getting the score past 200. Some crazy hitting from both of them. Pant was hitting one-handed sixes out of the park. And yeah, just a change of venue, change of scenery, better pitch to bat on. I think it worked for in India's favor. It wasn't, also there was no dew. Like, I mean, there's not that much dew. I was sitting on the grass bank, so I was like touching the grass all the time and I couldn't find that much dew. And that also helped India. But it was a proper performance and exactly what they needed. And yeah, what you said earlier, I completely agree with you. That's like, it's going to happen anyway. India is a type of team, either you hate them or you love them, but that no one's going to be satisfied with them. I think for them as a team, they'll be really, really happy and confident. Still, playoffs is way far, semifinals is way far, but at least they put out a proper performance after receiving a couple of pastings themselves.
I agree 100%. I think that this was a professional performance from the Indian team. Starting off with the batting, I think the batting was like you said, immaculate. You've already mentioned about the batting, but I think the bowlers also were chipped in well, except for I think
Yeah.
in the last couple of overs, there was just a few too many runs. But I think Jannat batted well as well. But at the same time, I think that they could have restricted them a little below, like 10, 15 runs lesser would have been nicer, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think my boy Ashwin, I've been talking about him from day one. Since 2013, I've been talking about Ravichandran Ashwin. This is the player, this is the match changer. And what a performance. 4 overs, 14 runs, and 2 wickets. He just, stifled the runs, got the wickets, and changed the complexion of this bowling attack, who's now suddenly starting to look a little bit better.
He bowls so well, so well. Pleasure to watch him bowl like that. I don't know if I've ever seen him bowl live. I might have, but this was maybe in a test match. But this was a sensational performance. The way he bowled, he was looping it nicely, and he bowled a few quicker ones, but he wasn't firing in every ball. He was like flighting it, do some variations. Of course, a couple of quicker ones here and there, but he bowled really, really well. Outstanding performance for me. That was one of the best performances in the game, and it made sure that India got that kind of advantage. You're talking about it could have been a bigger lead. It could have been, but it was still a good pitch to bat on. So I think Ashwin's performance actually increased the margin of runs. It could have been a 30-run victory, 20-run victory, maybe 40 max, but he actually made it at 60, 66. In the end, it looks the opposite, but it was a good wicket to bat on. And for spinners, we saw Jadeja also getting hit here and there, but even Rashid got hit today. But Ashwin did a magnificent job, and that's what experience does. It's come a full circle. The last time I saw both of these guys bowl together was probably in the Champions Trophy, if I'm not mistaken. After
2017, I think so, yeah.
4 years,
Yeah.
and that was the end of Jadeja Ashwin. I thought Ashwin will never play a limited overs match, but he's back here and keeping India with the chances alive with the thread, So really good to see him bowl like that.
The only other thing that I was talking about now, Hardik Pandya is able to bowl 1 or 2 overs from the looks of it. Would you try bringing in the Rahul Chahar, who's the leg spinner in the team, instead of Shardul?
If Hardik Pandya bowls 4 overs, you can do that, or at least 3 to 4 overs. Then you can do that. Of course, I want to see a leg spinner. If you look at all the successful teams in T20s and even in this World Cup, they all have leg spinners in the team. Azhar Rashid is doing brilliantly well. Shamsi, Sodhi, everyone, all the leg spinners are doing pretty well. I think you need a leg spinner for sure, and I would have gone with Chahal, to be honest with you. But you have Chahal in the team, then you go with him, back him. He's your leg spinner. I would like to see that. Jadeja for me is the fifth to sixth bowler. He's that bowler who can look at with CSK. He doesn't bowl his quota every single time.
Yeah,
Dhoni
yeah.
bowls him a couple of overs, and he brings in Bravo, brings in all these other bowlers. So I think Jadeja is the one who can bowl 2 to 4 overs, but you can bank 4 overs on him every single time and not get hit, right? So I would like to see Chahar there, but is Hardik Pandya fit enough? That's my question.
My feeling is that it could be Jaddu 2 and Pandya 2, and the other four bringing in 4 overs. And if any of them go once, actually have a good day
You
at the
could do
field,
that,
then you
yeah.
can continue. Yeah, something that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I think it's a good it's a good headache to have for this Indian think tank, because I feel like Shardul. I do believe that Shardul is a very he's a completely changed player in terms of bat and ball. But I still think that there's just a little bit that I find that is left wanting. I think he's not accurate enough, and I think that there is the capability, because the pitches are slow and low, to try in a Chinaman who can actually be a little bit more of a threat. With due respect to Shanto.
Yeah, of course, and also I think Shardul Thakur is a wicket taker. He will pick up wickets, and he's a key bowler in that situation. He can bat as well. But if you look at it from that, leg spinner is a must in this format. I think he's someone who you need a leg spinner to pick up wickets, flight that ball, attempt the batsman, and actually get a lot of purchase from these kind of pitches. I think we saw in the Asia Cup, Kuldeep and Chahal, they spun a web around all the Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, when it was in the same condition. So leg spinners, you need them in your team.
I agree 100%. That wraps up the game. Proper performance by India. Your man of the match.
Oof, it's a tough one. But the man who set it up, I think, for me, was Rohit Sharma. Flawless innings. He batted really well. So it was a pleasure to watch him. Some of the shots he played was outstanding. He used the offside as well as the leg side today, and some straight shots as well. Really enjoyed his batting, and he set up the game along with KL Rahul. And of course, I have to mention Rahul and Ashwin's performances, but equally Hardik and Pant also taking the score past Afghanistan's range. But for me, is Rohit Sharma the man of the match. It was a proper performance, and he deserved 100.
I think 100%. Whenever India plays, I get a little carried away, so I'm sorry, but we haven't really spoken about Afghanistan. Let's just quickly talk about them for a minute. They would be a little upset with the way they bowled today, because they are a better bowling unit. But you can see the chinks in the problem in their bowling attack. It's not a full how am I call it? It's not like a at this point in time, with due respect to them, I think it's not a 20 over bowling side. It's more like a 15 over bowling side. I think they have one player that always goes. Today it was Naveen Haq. Last time it was Karim Jannat. These one or two bowlers who get a very bad pasting, and that creates a problem when they play, because Rashid then puts more pressure on the likes of Rashid and Mujib, or even the other guy who came in. What was his name? Safruddin. He also got
Yeah,
whacked
the
today. So
lefty.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just that maybe they need to just to fine tune some things a little bit, but they've already done a good showing in this World Cup. They've shown that they're a threat. They're above the likes of the likes of Scotland, Namibia, but they have a little bit to go before they reach the likes of India, England, Pakistan, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. I think Mujib's presence was
Absence, right?
missed. Yeah, his absence was missed today. Definitely, I think with injury he had to sit out the last game and this game as well. That would have definitely made them a bit tighter in the power play. And of course, the fast bowlers have been leaking runs here and there. Like if you look at the Pakistan game, I think they played out of their skin, but then it was the fast bowlers who let them kind of down, and their batting has been inconsistent as well, fielding not the best. So they have a lot of sparks in the team. They can upset big teams on their day, but then they have a lack of experience and I wouldn't say skill, but just performance on that level to keep it consistent is a bit difficult for them. Yes, they performed brilliantly against Pakistan, but that doesn't mean you're going to keep continuing those performances, especially you're coming up with an Indian side who's wounded, right? This Indian team needs to win as much as Afghanistan did. It was an important game for both teams. So it wasn't never going to be easy. And I think Rahul and Rohit, they're very smart in the calculation today. First of all, they didn't get out, but more than that, the way they played Rashid for single doubles until his second last over. I
Last
think it
over.
was second. Yeah, his last over is
Last
when
over.
Rohit Sharma hit him, or
Oh
second
no,
last or
second
last,
last, second
second
last,
last
second
over.
last.
That's when Rohit Sharma hit him for two sixes, I think, or a couple of boundaries, and that's when the game started changing. So it was they were the 80 of 10 overs India, and they were still playing Rashid out. They picked their bowlers, and they're very smart, and that's something Afghanistan will learn, even with the bat, who to target, who not to target. We saw they started out brilliantly in the second innings. They were smashing boundaries left, right, and center, but one shot too many. Zazai did the same thing, Mohammad Shahzad as well. After such a good start, it's about picking your shots and picking your bowlers, and that's something they learn over time. They're still an inexperienced team, and there's a lot of spark over there, but yeah, it takes time for everything to come together as a set
I
piece.
agree.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that they've shown some very serious signs of brilliance, and hopefully they can really build on that and become a power team in the future. That
Definitely.
wraps up this game. Let's go back. Let's go to the earlier game today. It was New Zealand versus Scotland. Scotland gave New Zealand a little bit of a. I wouldn't say New Zealand would be worried at any point, but Scotland gave them a little bit of
A
of
run for
of,
the
of
money for sure.
a run for their money for sure. Yeah, I don't think that they were really ever in it. To be honest, I think 170 was a too tall a task for them to accomplish. But some good starts. I mean, Muncie started off well, and then what was that guy's name in the middle? I can't remember. Um,
Least,
Michael Leask. Yeah, Leask. He
yeah.
went berserk. 42 of 20, not too bad. Over 220, almost 210 strike rate. He would have just given them one or two here doubts here, but it's just too little, too late. I think for Scotland, and a nice victory for New Zealand overall.
Yeah, honestly, at one stage, like a lot of Indian fans in particular were getting excited, and rightly so. I think Scotland were putting up a fight for a majority of the game. They fell a bit short. I think they were in the game. They were in the game, but slightly behind the eight ball because of that extra 10-15 runs. The Guptill smashed it, man. That was a fantastic innings by him. Without him, New Zealand would have been in trouble. But this is the first time I've seen Guptill play like this in these kind of conditions, in subcontinent
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Middle East conditions. I haven't seen him play like this. So aggressive. I've seen him in New Zealand, England, and everything, but to play like this here, it was really good to see him. But yeah, Scotland were always in the game, like you said. I think he's batted really well, and it was a very good start as well in the chase. They were with the run rate, but getting out at the wrong time, I guess, and then in the end the run rate goes up. Then it's always a you're just behind the eight ball, then it becomes difficult to catch up. And you're playing against some very experienced New Zealand bowlers. They were in control, but I'm sure there's a slight scare in while they were fielding.
Yep, I think everyone except for Ish Sodhi would be disappointed. I think he got a bit of a pasting. I think Bolt and Saudi again were very good. 6 and 7 economy with 3 wickets amongst them. Milne was a little expensive, and Sodhi got spanked even though he picked up 2 wickets.
Yeah, he picked up 2 wickets, but he got spanked. But that's what you get with leg spinners, right? Like he had an outstanding game against India in terms of economy and wickets. Here he didn't get to the economy tight, but the wickets still made a difference. It still slowed down the rate. It's brought a new batsman in. It pushed that run rate up. So wickets is key. And then when you have runs on the board, it's okay to get hit. Of course, like no one wants to get for 10 runs and over, but it's okay to get hit if you're picking up wickets, because wickets will slow the pace down of the opposition's innings.
I agree 100%. And an important wicket of Munzi as well. Once just while Munzi was starting going with those sixes, so he gets that important wicket. So I think overall, I think New Zealand would be happy. I think they had to get across the line, and that's what they ended up doing. Uh, and I think that's kind of what they would be happy about. That's all they need to do in the next 2 games. They just need to get across the line, then they'll make it to the playoffs. It's pretty much in New Zealand's hand. But on Sunday, I think a lot of Indians are going to go into and start supporting the Afghanistan team, so that there's an opportunity for India to make it at that time in time. But your man of the match for the game between
Um,
has to be Martin Guptill.
Martin Guptill,
Yeah.
Martin Guptill. Yeah, he was brilliant today, and it was really good to see him play in these conditions. Found the boundary with these rotated the strike. Mitch, like from the get go, he was always scoring, and suddenly wickets started falling around him, but he continued to bat on, and it was a brilliant innings. He set up the game. Without his innings, even if he hit 40 runs less, they would have still might not have won the game. They might have lost the game. So I think a very important innings from Guptill. And I just to add on the game against Afghanistan, I think I still consider New Zealand favorites. I'm not saying that like in any other context. I just feel that they play smart cricket. They know exactly, like, okay, fine, the Scotland game was close. They could have lost it, and they might get a scare against Namibia. They might get a scare against Afghanistan. But the way Kane Williamson captains, and in general, this team goes under the radar. There's not much pressure around them, and they know exactly what they have to do. Their plans are clear, and they have options, right? In terms of bowling and batting, they have different types of options despite injuries. They have a system. Williamson plays that system, and it's working. And it's like they go under the radar. They play some aggressive cricket as well. There are some aggressive cricketers there, so it just goes under the radar. And yeah, hats off to them. I think they're favorites right now to qualify, and I'm sure they will. But an upset will never harm us, especially.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. Before we wrap up for the day, tomorrow's games: Australia versus Bangladesh. Australia is in it still, although I think slightly outside chance. I think South Africa is more in the reckoning to make that spot there. But they have to win their next two games. And tomorrow against Bangladesh, a very very depleted Bangladesh. I think they want to go out there, really put up a strong performance and let South Africa know that they're still chasing them.
Well, yeah, Australia have to play Bangladesh, and I think they play West Indies, if I'm not
After
mistaken.
that, yep.
Right, South Africa have to play England, man. That's the problem.
Yeah,
So
that's the
right now,
problem.
net run rate South Africa is much better. They're second place.
Yeah.
They're a better position, but
Yeah.
their opposition to get in is a bit more difficult. I think they have one easy game, one tough game, if I'm not mistaken, on paper. So
Yeah.
Australia still have a very good chance to qualify, and everyone says it's like test team, one day teams. They have a similar problem to India, where a lot of the players play all three formats, and maybe fatigue comes into play. Also, adapting to different formats differently, it might cause some problems, but I still think that this team has a lot to show in this World Cup, and if they can just click, especially Warner and Finch, like I'm saying this always, if they click, and especially with Maxwell there in the middle order, I think this team can do a lot. And a lot of criticism of Steve Smith, but you have to remember, there's Kane Williamson, there's Kohli, there's no Root now, so people are comparing him to Root and saying that if Root doesn't play, this guy shouldn't play. But I think there's always room for a player like that in these conditions.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's going to be an interesting game. And then Sri Lanka versus West Indies is somewhat of a dead rubber. Obviously, both of them can still have a chance.
Close to super over. I want to see a close game.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing, I think. But I think it's in terms of the importance of the game. I think both of them still have an outside chance, but I think it's just it's just a bridge too far now for them.
Yeah, I think they're both out of the tournament. It's very difficult for them to qualify, and they just be hoping to get a win under their belts. Both teams, I think Sri Lanka have really promised, whereas West Indies have disappointed. It's been the opposite. They're defending champions. If this was in India, there would be a lot of criticism, especially being defending champions. I think West Indies to go back to the drawing board. It's not that they have changed their system, but they just have to adapt to conditions better. That's what they have to do. It's not like England changed their system heavily either, right? But you have to adapt to conditions and play. You had the same players, but they were a bit conservative, like Butler and Morgan, but they still went out and smashed it later. So it's about adapting to conditions, looking at the situation. West Indies need to do a bit more of that. And Sri Lanka, I think for them, it's been a good tournament just to see the individuals perform. And hopefully, like I mentioned before, that the more they play, they can click as a team and win games more consistently.
I agree 100%. I think that wraps it up for today's games and the little bit of a review for tomorrow. We are looking forward to the games tomorrow. Before we wrap up, the last thing I want to say is Sir Rahul Dravid is back. That's all that matters.
Oh yeah, India's coach. Man, what timing during the game? I was in the game and then I turned on my phone. I'm like, oh, they're announcing it while this game is going on. Very good signing. I mean, we've been talking about this for like 5-6 years. It felt like ages. At times it felt it's not going to happen, but it's finally happened. It hasn't sunk in yet, so I don't know what to make of it. But of course, I'm happy. Like I think he's a solid coach. He did that with the under-19 team. I don't know if he can replicate the same thing, but he's on the right track, and I think he'll be handling a lot of the under-19 boys in the future as well. So I mean, we will discuss that in more detail, but for now I think it's a very positive appointment and very good for Indian cricket. And let's just hope all the best. Wish him all the best, and the team as well.
Yeah, my favorite player is back. I think Ashwin's going to get an extended run in this team. Like a second favorite player is Ash. But anyway,
now the next thing is to see who the captain is. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion for another day. So we'll keep it at
Yeah.
that. Man,
Yeah.
take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, man. Take care.